Welcome in the latest episode of that SEC podcast. I'm your host, Michael Bratton. I go by SEC Mike on Twitter, and I'm joined as always by my cousin Shane, who goes by Big Orange Vols on Twitter. What are you up to, you big Tennessee homer?
Hey, buddy, what's going on?
All right, Shane, right off the top, got to address this. Just terrible news out of Starkville here. Mike Leach, taken to the hospital, airlifted, is being reported by Mississippi State. He's on record. He's been dealing with pneumonia, and just thoughts and prayers with Coach Leach as we're recording here Sunday evening. Hope for the best for him and his family. Just incredibly difficult situation here, and with Coach Leach not available currently, Zach Arnett, defensive coordinator, has taken over as interim coach at Mississippi State. But just, scary, sudden news here. You know what?
And we're recording this 8:46 p.m. on Sunday night, and it doesn't sound good, man. It really sounds bad, and I don't know if you're the praying type, but keep his family in your thoughts and prayers. You don't want to see this with anybody. Nonetheless, a coach that you admire, and they got family and stuff around the holidays. This is not good news. So keep them Bulldogs in your thoughts.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, Shane, it's tough to move on from that, but we like to keep it as light as we can. And man, when I saw this photo, I knew we had to include it on the show. I sent it over to you, but Missouri and Kansas, Shane, apparently played a basketball game over the weekend. Yeah. Unfortunately, Missouri went down, but guess who showed up? And guess who was in the student section holding up a sign reading 5 Level 1 violations? None other than Coach Eli Drinkwitz here trolling Kansas. And if you don't get the backstory, Kansas was hit with 5 Level 1 violations under their current coach. Should probably be fired when you have – they ran off Pruitt for the same damn thing, but they're a little bit more successful on the court there at Kansas than they are football. So I just thought that was hilarious.
Well, at first I thought he was making fun of Tennessee. I was like, are we playing Missouri? I didn't know we were doing conference play already. So he got me, and then I was like, oh, it's Kansas. We good. Coach Eli. That one's good. So I was afraid to retweet it immediately. But this is classic, man. This is what I want, man. I want a ballsy coach that gets out there and ruffles some feathers, because it wasn't that long ago they were dragging his ass under the bus because they were afraid to play. Yeah. So this is what rivalries are, and I hope that we see more of it.
Yeah, and one more thing on Mizzou, Shane. Good news here. Great news, really, in my opinion. Theo Weiss, former Oklahoma receiver, he's announced, hey, he's joining Drink's Missouri program here. Okay. And going back, Shane, and watching Spencer Rattler at Oklahoma, I went back and watched every throw he ever had as an Oklahoma Sooner. And in my opinion, Theo Weiss was the best receiver in a receiving core that included Jadon Hazelwood, who he went to Arkansas and was top 10 in the SEC in receiving. They've had a number of great receivers there at Oklahoma. Theo Weiss was a baller. So 64 catches, over 1,000 yards, 10 touchdowns during his Oklahoma career. This is a nice addition after, you haven't lost Dominic Lovett yet, but, assuming you do, he is in the portal, assuming you do lose him, this is a nice little makeup here. Theo Weiss to pair with Luther Burden. Could do a lot worse than those two. You know what?
Dude, that's a big get, man. This isn't something Missouri was doing 2 years ago. I think that says a lot about the program and what Eli's building up there. So, you got one out. It's a two-way door, man. We'll let someone else back in, and it sounds like they got him a good one here.
Yeah, speaking of basically that same thing, Shane, let's kick it all down to Kentucky real quick. Huge news. I think this dropped on Friday, Saturday, something like that. But Chris Mortensen, ESPN, of course, reporting Liam Coen back to Kentucky. Oh, Shane, I heard you can't know how many Kentucky people reached out to me saying, "Oh, you selling that Kentucky sock?" Well, I'm back. I'm back on a bandwagon, man. All it took was Liam Coen. We have that answer at offensive coordinator. They've not officially announced it, but I don't think that's got anything other than the Rams are still playing football games here. But this is huge.
They should make it official, Mike. They should do it before this bowl game comes out.
Yeah, I forgot about that. The Music City Bowl up here, with nobody playing. But, we got to realize, Shane, when he took over Kentucky, they were literally a wildcat offense.
Yes.
I mean, they had nothing. And
Right.
here he goes. He takes this guy, Will Levis. I know he's got his critics, us included at times, but Will Levis, when he came to Kentucky, Shane, he had more rushing attempts than passing attempts as a college quarterback. So this was nowhere near an NFL. I mean, it was ridiculous to even put him in NFL draft consideration. 1 year with Coen, you got people out here saying he's the number 1 overall pick. So that gives you an indication of how outstanding Liam Coen was in his one season there with Kentucky. How about these stats, Shane? One of the best out there, Sports Source Analytics. This is a service that the college and NFL teams, they pay this service to put out analytics for them. According to his model, Kentucky, second best offensive control in the country the 1 year Liam Coen was calling the plays up there. They dropped all the way to 71 this season with the same quarterback, same running back. So it gives you an indication. Again, he's not a miracle worker here. We still got to get a quarterback. But the fact that we got Liam Coen has got to make Kentucky one of the more attractive quarterback destinations for every quarterback in the portal, don't you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the big part is the timing. The timing couldn't be better. The portal's still open. You've not lost any recruits. You can get out there and you can sell what this football team looked like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And you could say, hey, we're bringing this back. We got a guy that's got NFL experience, and he just needs a quarterback. That's really it, Mike. They need a quarterback, and even if it is on that roster, I feel better with the Kentucky situation knowing that he's at the helm.
Shane, I'm wearing my blue Kentucky That SEC podcast shirt for a reason, man. I'm that fired
back.
up to get Liam
back.
Coen back on the team. You know what?
They're getting first place votes next year at the SEC Media Days. That's coming from Mike, SEC Mike.
Well, speaking of first place votes, Shane, we got to talk about this. I was on, if you missed it, we've uploaded it to YouTube, but I opened the Paul Feinbaum show, Shane, on Friday. And of course, what did he want to talk about? Bobby Petrino being interviewed up there at Texas A&M offensive coordinator. Oh, man, how great this would be for us on a content perspective. But I would go so far, Shane, to say this is great. I mean, this is just being reported. It's not official or anything, but I hope it does happen, Shane, because I think Bobby Petrino is exactly what they need down there in Texas A&M. He is an outstanding play caller. He's a guy that is currently obviously a head coach at Missouri State, but he is not going to leave a position like that to come down to College Station and not call the plays. And his resume speaks for itself. Well, all that off the field speaks for itself. But I'm strictly speaking of on the field. This is not a guy that is going to back down from old Jimbo.
Right.
I mean, hell, they may get into a fight in the sidelines, but maybe that's what they need down there. They need some fire. They need an ace play caller, and that's exactly what Bobby Petrino is. People like me will be making jokes. I already made it on the Paul Feinbaum show about the motorcycles and everything. But, man, this is potential grand slam. And credit Jimbo, if this is the hire, for thinking outside the box, not just hiring some schlub out here that he can tell, we're going to run this play. We're going to run that play. You ain't telling Bobby Petrino nothing. You know what?
No, I think that's the best part. He ain't going to take shit from Jimbo. And that's what you need. I think this is a perfect hire, Mike. And it makes me wonder if this is a little bit – and again, he's not hired yet. I probably should clarify. This is just getting an interview is a big deal. But I think it would be a great fit. Not only is he a great offensive mind, something that they could really use down there in College Station, but it makes you wonder if there isn't someone else pulling some strings here too, because say what you want, Jimbo got a little bit on the hot seat here, and if something does happen and you have to pull, you've got a coach here that's coached Division I. He's coached SEC and was successful at doing so. So you got your hell of an interim coach sitting there as well, which is crazy to say, especially since the man's not hired. But I love it. I mean, ever since I saw the Arkansas game this year, I said, he needs back. He needs back in the SEC. And you talk about a perfect setup. If he can get down there, that would be an absolute home run hire, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I was on John Neighbors, friend of the show. He asked me on his show Friday after all this broke, and he said, well, why in the world would Bobby Petrino leave a head coaching position to come down here to be a coordinator at A&M? And here's what I said, Shane. I mean, I think Bobby Petrino's a little bit older, obviously.
Yeah.
But who in the hell is sitting around watching Missouri State football? I mean, they could win 3 national titles at their level. They probably wouldn't have one game televised.
Right.
When you're running out of your career, I don't know how many years he's got left, but let's say he's got 5-10 years in his coaching career. You want to go out on a right note. And you come down here, you come to A&M, you revitalize the offense, you help Jimbo turn this into a big-time winner. The next SEC job that's opening, they're probably considering you to be the head coach.
Yeah.
You ain't getting that at Missouri State. I don't care how well you do. So, I mean, I think this makes sense for all parties involved.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think it's, like I said, it's a great fit. And if I'm Bobby Petrino wanting to get to an SEC again, you're looking at an opportunity here where you don't have to recruit, man. The talent's coming. Jimbo's going to get the talent down there. And the facilities, everything that you need is just laid out. All you got to do is coach some damn offense and get some points on board and be a little bit more successful than you were last season, which the bar is not too high right now.
Right.
So I think it's a no-brainer if given the opportunity. Not to mention, you're going to make more as an offensive coordinator there than you would a head coach at Missouri State.
Right. Well, speaking of coordinators getting hired, Shane, Hugh Freeze working quickly to get his guys in there. This all broke on Sunday evening, but it looks like offensive coordinator is going to be former Tulsa head coach Philip Montgomery, and he was at Baylor, Shane, in 2013. He was the offensive coordinator. They averaged 52 points per game. He was the offensive coordinator in 2014. They averaged 48 points per game. Now, I'd have to go back because I haven't done my full research here. That may have been Art Briles calling the plays, but whoever it was, Shane, I mean, that's Tennessee Josh Heupel numbers. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So this should be exciting, I would think, if I'm an Auburn fan, and it leads me to believe that Hugh is going to blend his system with the Briles system that they're running at Tennessee. They're running it at Ole Miss. They're running it at Arkansas. Yeah. Fast pace, tempo. It gives Alabama troubles, then we're bringing it to Auburn. You know what I mean? So I think this is potential fantastic hire by Auburn.
And I think that's what you want as an Auburn fan. You just want to score some damn points, man. Forget the whole defense wins championship mentality. We want to see 40-50 on the board, and a good ball game. So I think this is great. I like the moves. I'm starting to see him everywhere. Hugh Freeze popping up everywhere. He's in all these recruits' house, right now. The Freeze is loose, boys and girls.
Well, speaking of defense, we don't want to overlook it, Shane. Apparently, Auburn also making moves to hire former Baylor defensive coordinator Ron Roberts. And what's interesting about this, Shane, sounds like Ron Roberts was on his way to Arkansas. Hugh cut in there, gave him a better deal. Now it's being reported by multiple outlets he's going to be the defensive coordinator for Hugh Freeze. Baylor had a top 10 scoring defense 2 seasons ago. This season kind of fell off the rails, but Ron Roberts, he's been a head coach at places like Southern Louisiana, where he was 42-29 overall. That's pretty good. He was also at Delta State head coach, Shane, 47-16 record. This is a successful coach. He's worked for Billy Napier there. He was his defensive coordinator at Louisiana. I think this is another excellent hire. And, obviously when you take over a program, you got to nail your coordinator hires. This is a terrific start for old Hugh.
I think that's big. That's like you said, the key. And how many times do you see new coaches struggle to find coordinators? It felt like Hugh didn't really have to choose. He knew what he wanted. He went out there and got it. And now here he snaked Arkansas's possibly defensive coordinator. Is that confirmed? I mean, how close in talks were they?
Well, yeah. I mean, I thought based on what I was being told, I think he was the choice by saying Pittman. So, yeah. I mean, this is tough. This is the cutthroat SEC. You know what?
He's loose, boys and girls. He is loose. You about to get frostbit this offseason, guys. The freeze is coming in.
Yeah, and one more. Right up that theme, Shane. Ole Miss quarterback commit Marcel Reed, one of the highest rated quarterbacks in the Southeast here. He's been committed to Lane Kiffin for a while. Official visit to Auburn this weekend. So, man, there is no love lost between Lane and Hugh, and now Hugh's trying to steal Lane's quarterback. And you got to remember, they got Jackson Dart, of course, but the backup, Luke Altmaier, is in the transfer portal. They got literally no backup, no depth at quarterback here at Ole Miss. So you cannot lose this guy, and you definitely can't lose him to a division rival. You know what?
Oh, man, I love it. I love how dirty it's getting all of a sudden, you know? I mean, college football's always been dirty and fun, but I just think this next crop of coaches coming in is making things really interesting. So I'm definitely keeping my eyes peeled here because I want to see how this NIL plays up down there too.
Yeah.
Because you know they stacked the cards down there to make it a little bit easier for Hugh when he landed.
Man, we got a
I'll tell you this real quick, Mike. You want to talk about not serious? How about that damn Heisman race, huh? What about it, man? I mean, we're going to be looking back, and I'm not. This is all I'm going to say on it. I'm not on a box. I'm not yelling for Hendon Hooker here. None of that jazz. I'm just saying, your Heisman winner got his ass smoked twice by Utah, that got beat by Florida, that barely made a bowl game this year.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's not, I'm not knocking the kid, but I have a feeling, Mike, in about 5 or 6 years, we're going to be looking back and say, what's the kid's name that painted his nails? And then he's in Canada now playing football. Yeah. Yeah. The Heisman guy. Yeah. So I think this race is an absolute joke. I think, I would love to see a little bit more clarity with, or transparency, if you will, with these votes. Yeah. Who's doing the votes? What were the votes? I like Barrett. He put his out there, his top 3. I admire that. I didn't agree with him, but this is what he put in there, and I would take his advice, like the man knows college football clearly. So I just wish there was a little bit more transparency there, and especially time of submission, or just remove that time. Like, you cannot make your submission until after the conference games.
Yeah, conference championships.
Yeah. So that's all I'm going to say on it. I'm segueing into serious talk, but I just had to say it. People were asking me what I thought about it, and I'll be honest with you, not against any of the players, but there's a lot of great freaking athletes that are in the SEC this year.
Yep.
I think about teams like LSU. What would they look like without Perkins? You know, what would Vanderbilt look like without what's his name?
Ray Davis.
Well, Ray Davis is a
Wright.
good one, but I was thinking Orji. Like, you remove him, from the defense. Like, what is that defense is already barely hung together. That's an MVP in my opinion. Yeah. Rocket Sanders. You take him off of Arkansas. What do they look like? So I just think they need to readjust their opinion on what a true Heisman is, and not necessarily who they think is going to have the best record at the end of the year and taking the quarterback from that team. That seems like kind of the rut we're in when it comes to the Heisman race.
Well, here's typical Shane cutting to chapter 12 while I'm at chapter 1 here. So, I got something lined up. All right, final thing I got on this one, Shane, I just wanted to pick your brain here. Like I said, you were skipping ahead, but we just had the Heisman ceremony. I would say 2 SEC quarterbacks got robbed from being up there. Hendon Hooker, Bryce Young should have made that cut. But how about a quick look ahead, Shane, to the next season's Heisman contenders from the SEC? How's that sound?
Yeah, no, I always like that. I'm a half. Well, never mind. I'll just keep going. I'm half tired. I'm exhausted, man. It's 9 o'clock now. Well, tacos are really starting to set in here, Mike.
Well, we know, Shane, this is an award that for some damn reason it's exclusively to quarterbacks. I don't know why. Don't agree with it. But so, of course, I got to mention there's 4 quarterbacks, Shane, I think should be on the radar heading into next season. I'll throw these 4 at you. You let me know if you disagree or maybe if we need to add 1 or 2 to the list. But my list starts with KJ Jefferson there at Arkansas. Love us some KJ. As long as Kendall Briles is back, they got Rocket Sanders. I think they're going to continue to produce on that side of the ball. So I love KJ Jefferson. He's got to be on your short list, I think.
Yep.
LSU quarterback Jaden Daniels, provided he does come back, he could go pro. But, he was electric for the Tigers this season. We've already got Keyshawn Butte committed to returning. You got to believe, he's got to know something behind the scenes that maybe Jaden will return. So you got to put him on that list. Mississippi State quarterback Will Rogers, he may be the most prolific passer in SEC history at this point in time next year. So we got to put him on the list, see what Mississippi State does on the field. And Shade, for a year now, I've been saying, pump the brakes. Let's not talk Heisman because this kid's not earned it. But the last couple weeks of the season, I think he's made the list. If he comes back, Spencer Rattler, if he plays as well as he did against Tennessee and Clemson, how could you not consider him at least a contender for the next Heisman?
And naturally, I thought you were going to say him first because when you talked about next year, I'm thinking about how the season ended. Yeah. Who was on top of their game going into the offseason? And I really think that Spencer Rattler is playing better than anybody right now. So you got to have him on the list. I think what matters, for starters, him coming back, but what South Carolina puts around him. But definitely I could see the love coming into next season. Well,
I think maybe I'm a little jaded, Shade, because I knew if I just started with him, everybody'd say, oh, God, here we go, Spencer Rattler Heisman. You know what I mean? Like, I've been very clear. At no point did I ever say he's a Heisman candidate. He should be considered. I'm saying maybe next year he finally unlocks. If he plays like he did the last 2 games, he's going to be there, like it or not.
Well, the fact of the matter is things a damn quarterback race anyway.
Yeah.
Whoever's going to win the Heisman is most likely going to be a quarterback because that's what we do with the Heisman these days. and this year, most of them are leaving out of the SEC, so it doesn't leave a whole bunch of people left behind. So let me ask on that note, Mike, and I don't know if I'm skipping chapters here, but is there any names that you could see sneaking up here? Is there maybe a quarterback you got a little asterisk beside, or maybe a running back, or you mentioned Butte coming back? Is there a receiver that may? I know it's tough for them to win it outright, but is there any names that are kind of on your short list to be on that?
Yeah, right there with you, Shane. 2 players that I think, non-quarterbacks, that I think need to be heavily considered. And if they continue to play at the level they've been playing, they'll earn the right to be there. Georgia tight end Brock Bowers. He might be number 1 of all non-quarterbacks on the offseason Heisman list. He's just such a freak. He can run it. He can catch. He's an elite blocker now. He's a matchup nightmare. We got to consider Brock Bowers. If it was not just a quarterback award, I'd say Brock Bowers may be the favorite because he'll be the face of Georgia next season. So got to consider him. And how about Ole Miss running back Quinshaw Junkins, Shane? Mm-hmm. It may be a lot to ask for him to do it once again, but if he leads the SEC in rushing 2 years in a row and just continues to progress, the guy, all season, Shane, I was waiting for him to hit the wall. I was thinking, this guy was in high school last year. He cannot keep doing this. He got stronger and stronger and stronger, it seemed, as the season went on. So Quinshaw Junkins, I think we got to put him in that conversation as well.
I wasn't agreeing with you. No, I am agreeing with you. I'm also starting a new tape here. No, I'm with you. I'm glad you mentioned Judkins. I thought you were going to kind of skip him out there, but yeah, 2 years in a row. If you can lead the SEC and rush, and he's one could argue he may have more carries this next season. So
right.
I'm amazed with what they did with him. But a full off season of Ole Miss food and nutrition and strength and conditioning, Lord knows what we're going to see next season. So, no, I like that. I like those names.
And then I got 3 more, Shane, that I think are a little bit off the wall. The positions they play, the schools they play for, they're probably not going to be considered. But if we're just talking the best players in college football, we need to consider players like this. LSU linebacker Harold Perkins.
Yeah.
If he is a monster again and he does it for a full season, he's got to be on that short list, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right, and then how about this one, Shane? Again, this be a little off the wall potentially. Kentucky receiver Barian Brown. And what I like about him, again, going back to Coen, he got Wan'Dale Robinson so involved in that offense. That's another one, Shane. He had no NFL prospects, Wan'Dale Robinson.
Right.
Until he played for Coen. They utilized him. They got him the ball every which way. And he was a second-round pick. I think he was like one of the first players taken in the second round. So nearly a first-round pick. And Barian Brown, aside from everything we've seen him do at receiver, he returns kicks, which you got to do to be considered for an award like this. So Barian Brown, I'm throwing him as a wild card. What's your thoughts on that?
No, I'm with it, man. I'm totally with it. And what one thing about Coen is, they had a lot of offense go to the next league.
Yeah.
And I haven't quite seen those guys take the step. Of course, they're still young and still have plenty of opportunities. But I think that says a lot that you almost dupe the NFL, making your team look better than they really are. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I think you take an athlete like Brown that's super elusive, and I think he is truly NFL talent. He's raw. He's super raw. But, if you can harness that speed, buddy, there's not a team in the NFL wouldn't want to have that. And I think you're right. Somebody like that it could be a focal piece of that Kentucky offense. Mm-hmm. And Cohen's done it before. I expect him and Mark to do it this season. So, and they kept him. There was a lot of rumors he was leaving.
Right.
A lot of rumors said he was going south to the Big Orange Nation. I was hoping that was going to happen, but apparently we didn't get enough scratch together.
And then one more guy on my list, Shane. Again, this guy's probably nowhere near anyone's Heisman list here. So I'm not saying, we put your money on this guy. I'm not saying it's going to happen. But if he continues to shine, Shane, Florida, I love what they do with the ground game. We don't even know who their quarterback's going to be. We don't know who the receivers are. But I'll tell you what, Shane, they have got them one elite running back, Trevor Etienne. He was a true freshman this season, shined right out the gate. Next season, if he takes that next step up, he could be a dynamic, well, he already is a dynamic play for the Florida Gators, but he could be the focal point of that offense. I realize it's tough for a running back to be considered for that. It has happened before, but I think Trevor Etienne's a name to know that, if the Florida Gators stun some people and do a 180, you got to look at him as a potential Heisman dark horse.
Yeah, no, I like it. And, I mentioned I mentioned Kayshawn. I still think that out of the receivers, that one surprised me that he's coming back. So it makes me think that his quarterback's going to be there. Mm-hmm. A full off season of these guys working out together. I think they really came on strong toward the tail end of the season. So that's another guy that I expect well over 1,000 yards receiving next year. And is going to find himself on a lot of lists.
Yep. Well, hey, buddy, that's all I got on this episode of the show. I know it's a late one. You probably got your head already on the bed. You got anything else before we hop off the line?
No, man, this is, we're not, there's stuff going on this week. We're going to have some games next Saturday, but you think it's slow, but it's not, man. Somebody was talking about these schedules. I can't remember who tweeted this, but, you got coaches not only trying to recruit right now, but they're trying to get the transfer portal folks in. They're trying to keep their folks from hitting the portal. I mean, these coaches are also trying to get together bowl practices. It's just, this is a hectic time of the season with the holidays approaching and everything. But this is also where your team's built, man. This NIL, this transfer portal is the new chapter of college football, and I would argue bigger than signing day, man. I really do. I think now you kind of got a baseline. You know what most of these kids can bring to your team, and a lot of programs are going to be able to shape up. So this is going to be a huge week. And any news, just keep the Twitters. Keep looking at that. Check out the YouTube channel. If you're not subscribed to it, be sure to get on that SEC podcast and hit subscribe. Mike's been doing an excellent job getting videos out there. So any news we got, we send right to you guys.
Yeah, and one final thing on that vein, Shane. I mean, we've not even really considered much of it, but who knows, once these bowl practices start heating up, once these bowl games are played, there's probably a lot of players that may have one foot out the door. You know what I mean? And,
right.
And they're waiting for the bowl game. They're waiting to see where they fit into these bowl practices. And if they're not happy at the end of it, I mean, this portal's, brother, it's open till mid-January. So
yeah,
we ain't done with guys jumping in, jumping out. You know what I mean? We're seeing commitments left and right here. But, man, we got a long way to go with all this. You know what?
It's like the NFL, you know. I don't really follow it in the off season, and then you turn on and you're like, who the hell's this guy? Wasn't he at Philadelphia last year? When did that happen? So it's going to be like college football. Like, wasn't he at Ole Miss? But anyway.
Well, brother, I think that's a great place to end this one. I really appreciate each and every one of you for continuing to check us out. I appreciate you, Shane, hopping on late to get this one out. But we'll catch you on the next one.
All right, see you guys. Go Vols.
So, but then you'll watch something else, and it'd be like, I'm trying to think of one that's like
maybe
really.
Like, did you ever see Paranormal? What's it called? Paranormal Activity?
No, I didn't watch that one.
Where it's like in a house and they're like watching you.
Well, like there's one called Hush.
Oh,
have you ever seen that one?
Is that's with the deaf lady, right?
Yeah, that's fucking real, man. That's a real situation that could really happen. So next time you're in the woods, you're probably thinking, man, what is some sicko is just sitting there watching every move you make, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, it makes you question life sometimes. So those are the scary movies I like. The ones that you could really see happening, you know, because some of them I'm watching and I lose interest. I really do. One of the best ones though, and that's not realistic, is like the ones that did the Annabelles and stuff.
Yeah.
That whole setup, they've got a good thing going.
A friend of mine
like The Conjuring.
A friend of mine saw the real Annabelle. I'll send you a photo. She sent it to me this weekend.
Oh, okay.
It doesn't look anything like the movie, but it's kind of cool to see the real one.
Oh shit, that's based off a real thing?
Yeah.
Oh, fuck that, Mike. Don't send that to me. I don't want to see that. Damn, here I thought it was not real.
No,
that's based off real stuff?
Yeah. The first one, The Conjuring, is definitely real. I know the Annabelle doll is definitely real. Those are real people, those two doctors.
Nope, Mike. Don't send me none of that shit. I don't want to see anything that's kind of real, you know? Because when I go to sleep, you know, you see the clothes that are sitting in the corner of your room. I'm going to swear to God, it's Annabelle running around. Oh, shit. Oh, man. Damn, this is what we should do sometimes on slow days. Just fucking cut loose and people like that.
Yeah.
Go ahead and start recording in case there's any more gold that comes out here.